Welcome back. Campbell Soup celebrating its 150th anniversary here at the New York Stock Exchange. The stock rallying in the past 3 months as the company showed signs of a turnaround coupled by strong sales in its snack business. And Campbell Soup CEO Mark Clouse joins us now exclusively in his first interview since taking the helm in January. Mark, thanks so much for joining us, and congrats on 150 years. Congrats on the new job.
Thank you. It's great to be here, and let me just start by saying congratulations to Sarah. I was hoping to get to see her, but this is going to be great anyway. I'll see her next time.
Well, and she, I know, is very sad not to be here
That's
for the
great.
interview, but thank you for joining us anyway. And let's start with the point we just made, the strong stock performance the last couple of months. You showed 2% organic growth in the most recent quarter. Does that mean the turnaround is complete?
Well, I'd say we're still in early innings, but I do think just ending our fiscal 19, there's a couple meaningful pieces that we put in place. I think first and foremost, it starts with doing what we say we're going to do. So delivering kind of steady performance through the year, culminating in a fourth quarter that did demonstrate some improvement versus a year ago, I think was incredibly important to begin to establish that confidence and rebuild some of the trust in the company. I think the other big accomplishment in 19 was the divestiture of the fresh business and the international business. I think it does a couple things for us. One, of course, the obvious. It enables us to take a big bite out of our debt. We know that's something quite important for many investors and for the company. But it also is a big enabler to drive focus. And if you think about where we are as a company now, it's a pretty focused, brand-driven portfolio. We're in one geography. We've got 2 divisions in snacks and meals and beverage, and really 13 categories that if we can win in those, driving our resources and our focus, both human and financial capital in the right spots, I'm feeling great about that foundation. Now we've got to demonstrate that we can execute consistently, get the innovation machine going, and really keep moving forward in a steady, sequential way.
You mentioned the divestitures. Would you be looking at other possible parts of the business, brands or entire segments? Is there more to go there?
I think for the most part, we're in a really good position. I think at this point, we've got our debt level where we're beginning to feel very comfortable with where we are. And remember, this is a pretty cash generative business on its own. So our ability to kind of control our own destiny is important. I think relative to other parts of the business, we continue to look at things, whether they're core to what we're doing. But for where we are now, I want to focus on getting the divestitures complete and then really focusing on driving the core business. I think that's where the biggest opportunity is.
Soup looks like it's stabilizing, perhaps improving. Talk us through what's happened there.
Yeah, I think, a little bit of this is a combination of a couple things. One is it's a business that, quite frankly, in the world of categories that we debate how challenged they may be, I'd like the hand on soup. It's a consumer-driven segment. The overall consumption within the category is up. We've just not been getting our fair share. The other thing that I like is that it's also a category arguably we've not been supporting at the level that we need to. So returning focus to that business with a category that I think has great opportunity, not just in core center of bowl eating, but also in adjacencies like cooking and snacking as well. So a good foundation to build off of, and with renewed focus and resources, a lot to do, but I feel good about the start.
It does even sound, though, like a defensive position as opposed to perhaps your primary long-term growth focus. When you described in your first answer your business, you said snacks, meals, beverage. You didn't mention the word soup. I wonder, when you came in as the new CEO, if you ever considered changing the name of the company, Campbell Snacks, something that might get you a better multiple.
It's a question that we've been asked in the past, but I love the tradition of soup. It's what the company was built on. Its core role that it plays in our portfolio is incredibly important. And remember, I do think it's important we are a portfolio. If you think about the business today, right, half the business is snacks. We get that business continuing to grow on the rate it's on, while also, even in a world where we're stabilizing soup, we're delivering our long-term algorithm on the top line. And although I think the potential is better than just that, I think that's a great way to lay out this first year or two of the journey that we're on.
I mean, arguably, too, if customer convenience has been one of the things people have been looking for, soup isn't the worst thing. I was going to ask, though, too, the conventional wisdom out there being that there is a general kind of chilliness toward these legacy brands.
Right.
Everyone seemed to think they knew they had to race for these sort of newer, fresher, more natural options, and that made acquisition multiples very high. I mean, where are you viewing that right now? Because you've had some organic growth, other companies as well. Is there been a change in that orientation?
I think people are realizing that perhaps the issue hasn't always been the brands. It's been a little bit of our stewardship of these brands. You know, one of the things we've learned a lot about soup is that the issue that consumers have with the opportunity to come back to this category and to these businesses isn't some deep-seated feeling that the brand doesn't match their life. It's are we delivering the products? Are we giving them the role that that brand's going to play in their life in a meaningful way? And so I do think there's always going to be a role for that innovation and some of those disruptors, but I also think there's a lot we can do with these core brands. They're fabric of the nation businesses. If we can breathe life back into them and make them more relevant, I think there's tremendous opportunity for us to do a lot with them.
So can you provide some examples of balancing this legacy business with innovation? What do you mean by innovation in legacy brands?
So one of the things that's a little bit sobering, I'm going to give you a fact right now that's going to make you tremble a little bit. Millennials have turned 40. Right? And so one of the things that's interesting about that dynamic is they now have families, they now have budgets, they're balancing a lot of elements. Their principles on health and wellness are true, but their willingness to play with mainstream brands to answer questions. So, for example, on a Swanson business, right, which is definitely a mainstream broth business, bringing things like bone broth to bear allows us to bring a trend that is highly relevant with millennial consumers, using innovation to bring them into a franchise that perhaps, 3-4 years ago, they wouldn't have been as interested in doing. And so I think the idea of understanding where consumers are going, using legacy brands, but then infusing innovation to bring the relevance that consumers are looking for is a great opportunity for us.